be holy, right? Which quite literally means being set apart. So how does worship reflect that? Well, worship can be, in a sense, a song that is set apart and completely opposite to WAP, for example, right? You can be set apart from that and showing that there is other options to that, because I'm sure that offends people who don't love Jesus, because again, that's a whole nother discussion, that song. But you're right, you talked about it being sexed up and things like that. That's sort of how the industry is. And we can be set apart from that. I think you don't have to be dragged into that to get into that. You're right. You have to be really good, but you don't have to just follow the way they play that game, basically. And I think that is still worship, and you can still be doing work for the Lord without every other word being Jesus or God or things like that. As brilliant as that is, there is a time and place for that, right? But that's a form of discipleship. Whereas you've got to evangelize as well. You can't just do discipleship. You've got to be evangelists, one or the other. But that it needs it in the world. So, a non-swearing, non-sexualized song that sounds nice can be a form of worship, I think, anyway.
How do you feel about that concept then? So if maybe we need to move away from the term Christian artist, but it helps just for clarity. So say artists that release, let's take a global example, like a Matt Redman. Is there any problem with a Matt Redman doing a worship album and a secular album back to back for you?
What do you mean by secular?
Just I don't want to go any more detail. Track one was about his dog. Track 2 was about Peter, because it links nicely. Not Peter from the Bible, but Peter, maybe better pronunciation. Track 3 was about food. How do you feel?
That would just throw me off, because I'm actually a huge Matt Redman fan. And I remember when I got born again in 2009, the church I used to go to at the time, they used to sing a lot of Matt Redman songs. And I like the music separate. If it's Christian, let it be Christian. If it's secular, let it be secular. If we're crossing boundaries or what, it just confuses me. I think when I started listening to Christian music and got born again, I know it may sound silly, but I wanted to hear that Jesus in the song. I wanted to hear the references to, Christ and being born again and whatnot. Because in my mind or in my journey, that separated that from the music that I used to listen to, the music of the world, I think having an artist sort of having one album being a Christian and then the other one being secular, that would just throw me off a little bit. But maybe it works for other people, but it would just be like, is there not
a place for both?
If it's Christian, I want to get into the Christian music and the worship, and then sometimes use that to pray. I'm sure there is, but I just don't see how it works. Because
I've got an example.
See some Christian artists having to conform secular.
Is it conform?
Yeah, go on, Linda.
Do you know what it is? So I also work with a radio station called Connect Radio, and we are the UK's first station that plays both Christian worship music and normal regular music. And the whole reason, the ethos behind that, is to show people that Christians are everyday people and everyday people can be Christians, because we believe that there is a place for both. Because often there is this huge segregation of us against them, you against me. And for me personally, I love the mix because I hear both. And where I am in my Christian journey, I am happy to hear someone do me both. I'm happy to hear Puff Daddy when he did a song with the rest of Bad Boy that's all about God. It's a Christian song. I think it's called Only You. And individually they came and sang about their need for God, because I think regardless of who you are, and I don't want to say what you may do, because there are obviously people that do things that I really cannot condone. But I think it boils down to the fact that we are still all human. So if Puff Daddy, even though I might not be the greatest fan of his, can come out and write a beautiful song that I can relate to on a Christian level, I'm not going to hold it against him and say, well, actually, I don't think there's a place for that because you also do normal rap songs, because he's a human being and he's given me this beautiful song that I can relate to. So for me, I think there's a place for both.
It's just a really personal journey. Like I think everyone has their own taste in music. So it's kind of what we've all been saying all along, that actually how you worship is a real personal thing. And there's a place for all different styles. And one of the great things is the invention of the Spotify playlist, that you can put together your personal favorite songs from whatever genre you like, whether they have the words Jesus in or not, and you can have them as a mix. And that's just brilliant and something to be celebrated.
I think also, I mean, you can also mix about with just pure like Christian worship music. You know, like I have a playlist that is just loads of worship songs, and if I wanted to chill out, then all of a sudden, Lion and the Lamb comes on and just blasts my ears off. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? That could be jarring and take me out of my place of worship. So actually, you know, I think you can sometimes you want to be, you know, as Tari's saying, a bit more, do you know what, I'm worshiping so intentionally this way today, quiet and whatever, and this, that, the other. And I think there is a place for that, but also we do have to think about the other side. As I said, it's like discipleship and evangelism.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as you said, it's your personal journey, right? You know, I struggled for a long time with worship because I worked in the industry. And I really struggled with it because I'd overanalyze them, because I'd really think about it. And I had to start worshiping in other ways and really practically, because and writing songs, because I just couldn't switch off when I listened to, you know, whereas now I had some time away from it and I really enjoy switching off and listening to it. You can worship by, you can worship by reading the Bible. We're talking about sung worship here, right? You can worship in any way you want. You could worship while praying, while you're doing the dishes, right? You know, your journey is your journey. And I think, you know, it's brilliant to have these sort of discussions, but at the end of the day, worship is personal, and that's what makes worship is, as someone said earlier, heart. You know, that's it. You know, there are hundreds of choirs every Christmas that sing Christian songs with no heart. They're not worshiping. They're saying all the right words about Jesus and God and this, that, the other. They're not worshiping because, well, you know, who am I to judge, for one? But let's say they're not. Let's just, for my example, I've nearly caught myself out there, say that it is just a purely secular choir full of atheists. They're not singing those songs in worship.
I do, however, also believe in the power of those words. Like, I know that their heart's not in it, but if somebody's singing about Jesus, I'm still really excited about that.
Yeah,
whether or not that they believe it or not, because I believe in that by saying that, declaring that there'll be some kind of like seed sown, bit of transformation. So I see where you're coming from, but I also love it.
Yeah, I love it as well, but you can't say that they're worshipping at that time. It can lead to something. Like I used to, every like secular gig I ever did solo, I played You're Beautiful by Phil Wickham. And by the end, everyone else is going, oh, you know, and all that, and you're beautiful. I was like, yeah, this is sick. And it was brilliant for me, and I'm really trying to connect through God in that. But did that always lead to a Christian? Or where did that song come from? Sometimes I'm like, yes, I'm in. Most of the time, it didn't. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't have, you know, have done it as such. Does it mean they're worshipping because they're going, oh, you know, no. But yeah, I think it is a great thing to put that out there. But is that worship? That's another question in my head.